gravity. Gravity.
Baby, wait, I know that you're afraid, but it'll be okay if you just stay with me. And we can run from here, and we can disappear, and they won't find us where we are going, dear. So baby, hold on to me, 'cause I know I can make you believe in something that only we can see. Oh, so baby, hold on to me, hold on to me. Hold on. with a slow motion crew, and we up in our cloudlands when people change, but not us. And we just chillin', kicking it, kissed by the sun. Could be soaked to the skin in the mall soon. I know she got the good vibes when seasons change, but we're the same. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding. And I'll be running, possessed by a low, low voodoo. Fired up like a wolf on a full moon. And we're stuck in a la la land. The tides will turn without us. And I'll be killing time like I might be a cartoon. Take it in real life like haiku. I know we got the good vibes when pieces fall right into place. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. Play me like a bass guitar, simmer down and mess me up, tripping like I'm Jimmy at Woodstock. Drive me around in your red Ford, shivers down my spinal cord. Oh, 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 oh. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding,
are hot and we are switching over. Welcome into hardcore Penn State football Rutgers week, which means funny tweets, which means a little bump in the road, which means you're probably not going to see the other team score more than 10 points. But we have Alex Anstead joining us in a little bit from Saturday Tradition to be our Big Ten guest picker. We're going to talk Penn State football. We got a little bit of a recruiting update for you, and we will go from there. Welcome into hardcore Penn State football. Welcome into hardcore Penn State football. I'm Corey Listoki. With me, as always, the great Sean Kane. How are you doing today, Sean?
Hump day, Corey. How's everything in your life besides, all of our Twitter stuff?
Oh, I'm groovy, dude. I wasn't even gonna go there right away. I was gonna. It's
Yeah.
actually cold down here. It's
It's cold here too.
it's like 40 degrees, which for Alabama, once it gets like to the 40s, it gets. I mean, people start freaking out. And yeah, if you're on YouTube right now, we still got Hokies came in here and said let's go. We got Jacob in here saying let's have an evening, gentlemen. Appreciate y'all being here on YouTube.
Thank you.
If you're listening or watching on YouTube live right now, let us know where you're at. Where are you watching this from? And say hi to us. But no, it's been when it gets this cold in Alabama, people tend to freak out. I got an email from my landlord like, if it gets cold, open the cabinet doors to all of your sink appliances so your pipes don't freeze. And
It's
if it gets
40.
below 30, leave the water running slightly on all your faucets. I'm like, you guys need to calm down.
That's something you do when it's 1 degree out.
Yeah, you guys need to calm down a little bit. So
yeah, that's extreme.
It's always funny when that kind of happens, but otherwise, no, man. It like I said, it's cold, but it's good. It's soup weather. Thanksgiving isn't a week, so life is pretty good, man. I really can't complain. People have been awesome on Twitter, on social media, on YouTube. It's been great. So the show's been going great. You're doing pretty good, all things considered. And Penn State's winning. They, 8-2 at this point in the year. I forgive whoever had the poll, the Twitter poll saying like, is this where you thought Penn State would be if you thought they'd be overachieving, et cetera? And I like tweet because I think 67% said they are where we thought they were going to be. I'm like, 67% of the people did not have us at 8-2 at this point, but that's okay. But no, I think even though I thought we'd be 8-2 at this point, I still am feeling pretty good about this football team. Jacob Sparrow says, usually a pod listener, but stoked to make a live show. Hell yeah, dude. That's what I like to see. So we appreciate that.
Thanks for coming.
He's from Florida. He said it's about 85 degrees here. So yeah, rub that one in, Jacob.
Yeah, it's 32 here, so in Scranton.
Yeah, we saw the Penn State football players were doing some snow angels in practice yesterday. They got a decent amount of snow in State College. So girlfriend's family north of State College, they got a lot of snow. So it's definitely that time of year, Sean.
Yeah, we didn't get a ton, but I think that's because it wasn't that cold over the weekend. So we definitely had snow, but a lot of it didn't stick on the roads or anything.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I guess we can get into the show. And Sean, I'll throw up the schedule, but the first thing I want to ask you about is something that you were talking about on Twitter a little bit. And I don't necessarily, we can talk about what your exact tweet was about, but more about the conversation I want to go down is you and I getting on the same page regarding what you consider an average team, what you consider a good team. And I don't know if I've ever even heard you use the word great. I feel like you go I feel like you go good and then you go right to elite. I got this little buffer that gives me some gray area with the great term. And I think my good term maybe is a lower bar than your good. And where it ends, I feel like, is in the middle of your good, and that's where my great kind of begins.
Right. And guys, like this is subjective, and there's no correct answer here. Your definition is different than my definition. When I look at a team like Penn State, our team, I see a good team, maybe even a really good team. I don't see a great team though. So what do I mean by that? Well, when I think of an elite team, I think of Georgia. I mean, they won the national championship last year. They beat Tennessee, was number 1 in the college football rankings, the first one. And they beat them handedly. That's what an elite team does. When I think of a great team, Ohio State, Michigan, Tennessee, maybe. Not Alabama. I don't consider Alabama a great team this year. I think they're good. So what?
Nothing. Keep going.
So I have higher standards for great and elite teams. I don't look at Penn State as a great team. I I just don't. You lost. You went into Ann Arbor, and you got pantsed by a team that I don't think is elite, and you gave up 21 points in 9 minutes to Ohio State at home. I just don't consider that great. I think they're good because they went and they beat all the teams on their schedule they were supposed to beat. But that gets into my average team. So who's average? I consider Minnesota an average team. I consider Maryland an average team. Purdue, they're average. So I just kind of think that those are teams that could conceivably beat a good team. Probably can't beat a great team. And they'll most likely beat bad teams, trash teams. But they could also lose to them. See Illinois losing to Indiana. But at the same time, if Illinois played Penn State Saturday, I think Penn State would win. But it'd make me a little nervous. They play Michigan this week. I think they could possibly give Michigan a game. I don't see them beating Michigan, though. So, but I consider Michigan a tier higher than Penn State. So that's kind of what I think. And then bad teams are just Indiana, Northwestern. They're trash. So, but again, this is subjective. I'm not saying I'm the ultimate authority on this. That's just how I see the good, great, elite, average, and then bad/trash teams.
Yeah, I think it's important that we probably should have this discussion, honestly, sooner, because we got to know where we're coming at as far as comparing these teams and whatever you want to call it. Because to me, Alabama's a great team. They lost 2 games by a single possession each game, both on the road in tough environments. And I mean, and again, to me, great, or any of these really doesn't matter. It's not just about the resume. You got to blend the resume with the talent, and Alabama's got the talent, whether or not the resume is at the elite or even great level this year. Alabama's great. I think Michigan is great, roughly even higher than Alabama and trending towards elite. I think Ohio State's elite. And to me, the difference between great and good is like Penn State and, let's just say, Illinois or Purdue. I think Illinois, Purdue, Minnesota, I'm forgetting one that I wanted to mention, Maryland are good teams. They're going to end up being 7-8 win teams, and they're going to lose to the teams they're supposed to lose to, like us, like Ohio State, like Michigan. But for the most part, they're going to beat the teams they're supposed to beat. And that's where you and I agree. However, why I think Penn State is great this year is because they beat the teams they were supposed to beat, like you said, but they beat them embarrassingly. It wasn't like they beat, Minnesota by 10. They beat Maryland by 10. I mean, they dominated those teams, and they turned those games into scrimmages. That, to me, like, you're right. They didn't look like a great team against Michigan. And although I will argue that being a great team means that you find ways to stay in games when you don't look great, and they did that for most of that game, or at least 2.5 quarters. And then, obviously, didn't look great in that fourth quarter against Ohio State. But they did look great for pretty much every other part of that season, maybe minus a quarter or two here or there. And when they have had the chances, they were able to dominate teams the way they're supposed to, in a way that a good team, in my opinion, like a Purdue, like a, I don't know, I'm trying to think of outside the Big Ten, like a UCLA, like a, let's just trying to think of like an ACC team, like a Syracuse is a good team, not a great team. Like those teams. That's, to me, the difference between the great and the good. And I think that's an important distinction. I also want to say shout out to Andrew Redding. He's watching from 40-degree Greenville, South Carolina. He also said what he's hearing is Alabama is good and Penn State is really good. # better than Bama. Lionheart says, Sean, Michigan will win the national championship this year. Just watch out. And Jacob said Sean is coming out swinging tonight. I really think I agree with Lionheart there, though. I think Michigan, honestly, and I think we're on the same page, I think Michigan is going to beat Ohio State this year. I really, from what I've seen so far. But that's getting away from the point. My point is we agree on the bad teams. I think we agree on the average teams, although you like to include some more of the good teams in there. I feel like my good range is thicker than yours.
Yes,
And
that
and
seems
that's
to be
really
the biggest crux.
yeah.
Because let me say this about elite teams too. Michigan, if they win the national championship, well, obviously they're an elite team. We're saying this at week 10. And Michigan and Ohio State still haven't played their biggest game yet, and that's against each other. So if Michigan goes into Columbus and cleans their clock, well, then yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely in the elite discussion. But Georgia's done the most impressive thing in my mind this year, and that's Tennessee was red hot, and they handled them. And yeah, they beat Oregon in week 1. Now you could say that's week 1. Don't put too much stock in it, but still, that's a top 10 team that they played. They might not be top 10 anymore, but they just were top 10. Like that's a good team that they went and played. Oregon probably on Penn State's level, and to just thoroughly dominate them. I mean, hey, kudos to you on a neutral field.
Well, whoa.
Well, they were in Atlanta.
You had it perfect until you said that, but yes.
I was still perfect. They were on a neutral field.
Yeah, neutral field when Oregon flies from all the way over.
All right, I
can't believe they agreed to that, honestly.
Yeah, that's so weak sauce. Oregon, you're better than that.
Anyway.
Yeah, so these things could change. I mean, hey, Michigan, let's say for the sake of argument, I don't think this is going to happen because I don't think Illinois is good enough. Maybe Michigan lays an egg this week and they weren't as good as we thought they were, and they lose to Ohio State. And then all of a sudden, oh, wow, they're not even close to being elite. We don't really know right now. That's kind of the beauty of college football. You really don't know how good everybody is until the very end because there are so many rivalry games left and all that. Like LSU plays A&M on Thanksgiving. A&M sucks this year, but it's a rivalry game. You never know what could happen. Even like the Egg Bowl, and I know Ole Miss isn't really playing for anything right now, but they can get upset, sure. So that's and Michigan, Ohio State, it's the biggest game of the year. So that's kind of how college football is, in that you need a full picture to really appreciate how good everyone is. I don't think people really knew, at least I didn't, how far Michigan was from Georgia last year until they played. And then you're like, ooh, wow, that is a big difference. So you need the full picture.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you do need the full picture, and I get it, right? Like, I mean, the argument we were having with Ari on Twitter, that was more of, look, like, my perspective is you can be a good team without necessarily having great wins. I mean,
I agree with that. Yeah.
Penn State is a really weird team where they have only had 2 top 25 matchups, and they just happen to both be 2 of the top 6 best teams in the country. It's just a really weird year, and that does make it hard for people that don't watch Penn State all the time to really kind of navigate their season and understand how good they really are. I get that. But that being said, you look at that UNC team and the games that they have won, very suspect. And the game, obviously, that they lost, they didn't look good at all. So I think if Penn State, quickly, Sean, I think if Penn State and UNC play on a neutral field, I think Penn State wins by 10. I don't know if they can stop the running game. And then I think it's strength on strength. Like UNC, great pass offense, but going up against one of the best secondaries in the country.
We might get our wish.
Maybe. It's possible.
Yeah.
We talked extensively about bowl stuff in the last episode, so if you missed that, go talk about it. Don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now, but yeah, with the rankings coming out, Penn State's at 11th in the college football playoff rankings, in front of UNC, in front of Oregon, in front of some teams that you're happy to see you're in front of. Basically, just need USC to lose, Utah to lose, and its potential for the Cotton Bowl. Basically, you just need LSU to lose and its potential for the Orange Bowl. Things are looking pretty good. If TCU loses and someone else loses, the Rose Bowl's into the mix. It's looking pretty good.
Can I say something? And I don't know how you feel about this. I think it's ridiculous that the group of 5 teams get an automatic bid. Like, we might play 10-2 Central Florida. Really? I mean, if you're undefeated and you're in the top 12, then you earned it. You earned a spot there. Like, I thought I was fine with Cincinnati being in the playoff last year because I looked around. They had that Notre Dame win, and they went undefeated. And they had a really – and if you want to say it wasn't just a fluke, they were really good the year before, and they were even better the next year. So I was fine with them even making the playoff. But, like, these group of 5 teams, none of them belong in the Year 6 bowls. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, good thing we're not a group of 5 podcast because we would be getting murdered in the comments right now.
Sorry.
Look, I was talking to a UCF fan today on Twitter, and they are like the worst kind of fan to talk to about playoff expansion. Because I was like, look, I don't think the group of 5 should get an auto bid to a 12-team or an 8-team playoff. Like, if they're good enough, like you said, if they're good enough to get it, if they're undefeated, or if they're like a Memphis squad that had 1 loss that was still a pretty good team, like, then yeah, sure, they'll probably get in anyway. But why are we reserving a spot? Like, that's when you get games that nobody wants to watch. I don't know. Lionheart asks about Joey Porter or says it might be his last game. Franklin thinks that he might play. We'll have to wait and see. I see what you're saying, though, with the appendicitis. Anyway, let's get into the show. PSU and the NFL we're going to talk about in just a second. We're going to run through some final thoughts on Maryland. We got some video clips we'll show you. The film breakdown was back this week. It's on Twitter. Just search film breakdown Maryland, and that should probably pop up right away for you, or hardcore PSU FB film. It will probably show up pretty quickly. If you found this podcast on the Twitter thread, it's actually in the thread on the pinned tweet for tomorrow, so it's there. We'll go through a couple plays. Sean, Big Ten Pick'em guest picker Alex Anstead with Saturday Tradition will be joining us. Sean, I just so you know and are aware, I asked him and he just confirmed that you're going to push him back 15 more minutes since we went on a little bit of a rant here. So he'll be joining us in about 25 minutes. And a little recruiting update. And I just realized I didn't put a little hyphen dash thing for that one. That annoys the hell out of me. And potentially a big flip coming. We'll get to that in a second. We'll preview Rutgers. We'll get into some of your fan questions and bold predictions. I believe we have 3 questions and 3 bold predictions, and then we'll get into our predictions. Okay, with that being said, let's go right into PSU and the NFL. See how long it takes for it to pop up there for you guys on YouTube. Before I forget, Sean, just thought I'd mention, because I don't have it on the graphic, but Ellis Brooks was signed to the Green Bay practice squad, didn't make the team. He has now been drafted in the XFL. So he is on an XFL team. I guess when I hear Ellis Brooks, at least for me, Sean, it's always going to kind of come back to what would have this team been able to accomplish. And I hate putting like the onus on just him, right? But if they had him at the Mike position against Michigan, if they had, does that make a difference? Maybe not in both the Ohio State and Michigan game, but maybe in one of those games, having a guy like that who's a tackle magnet back. I don't know, Sean.
It probably would. I mean, honestly, the linebackers were not good against Ohio State, and they certainly weren't good against Michigan. I think it would have made at least an impact on those games. I agree with you. I don't think we beat Michigan, but I don't know. Maybe that long run from Travion Henderson, maybe that doesn't happen. But alas, congratulations to Ellis Brooks for getting signed in the XFL, and I'm happy to still see him playing football.
Yep. Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, it's always nice to see the Penn State guys continue to play football. Real quick, Dorito says G5 teams should be required to schedule at least one good Power 5 program to see how they stack up. I will defend UCF and say that they have tried to, and a lot of schools will not schedule with them. So I agree, Dorito, but a lot of schools are like, why would we want to schedule with someone that might beat us? So it's a little tricky sometimes.
That's true. Like, I remember after the App State game, I was like, we're never playing these guys again. Because if you lose to them, it derails your whole season. If you beat them, they go, oh, well, you beat Central Florida. So. Yeah.
Quiet day for Micah Parsons. Only 7 tackles. In his game, Miles Sanders, actually kind of a quiet day for him, too. He didn't really help my fantasy team, only 12 rushes for 54 yards, and the Eagles suffered their first loss. And I know I said that, but I'm trying to just upset our Philly fan base. Adrian Amos, 9 tackles. He's having a really underrated year for the Packers this year, Sean. I believe it's a contract year. So he could be making some serious money this year if he can take care of business there. Saquon Barkley, believe he's leading the NFL again in rushing yards, 152 on Sunday and another touchdown. It's just nice to see him healthy. Jaquan Brisker continues to have a good. Did you see the retweet I had of Jaquan Brisker saying that no one's giving him enough credit? I respected that. Brisker came out and was like, y'all are not giving me enough love and all these like rookie of the year stuff and like the votes and things. So leaving him off with like tweets and stuff. So that was nice to see. Chris Godwin, 6 catches for 71 yards and a touchdown. He did help my fantasy team. And then Arnold Ebiketie, 3 tackles and a half a sack, but he had a pretty solid game for Atlanta. What are your thoughts, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, I think Adrian Amos, I think he flies under the radar a lot as far as guys that are in the league for Penn State. He has been such a solid guy for he's been in the league 7-8 years, and I feel like he just gets more and more productive. And then Saquon, I mean, like you would look at it and think, oh, well, he's a cinch to be comeback player of the year. But then you have to consider Geno Smith was literally like a dead person, and now he's leading Seattle to the playoffs. So that's going to be a really tight race, I think. But yeah, Saquon showed when he's healthy, he's still the best running back in the league. And I think for a guy that's been hurt for the past 2 or 3 years, I mean, that's just a testament of how talented and how hardworking he is. So couldn't be prouder of him. And Chris Godwin continues to carry Tom Brady's corpse. So props to Chris Godwin.
You got the Brady jab in there. I will say this: it is so much better doing these episodes when there are people in chat commenting. I'm not going to read off every comment every time, but it's a lot better seeing these up, and it definitely feels like that's more of a community that we're building. So we appreciate you guys being live on YouTube. Yeah, for the sake of time, because I want to not hold Alex Anstead back more than we already are at 9:45. Let's go into the kind of the final thoughts here on the Maryland? Yeah, on the Maryland game. We've had so many damn red teams that we've faced. It's like getting in my head.
Yeah.
It's 5 straight red teams that we've faced, I believe. It went.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
It went. What do we do? We went. Well, if you count, okay, Maroon.
Minnesota.
I'm counting Maroon as red.
Yeah, that counts.
Minnesota, Ohio State, Indiana, Maryland, and then Rutgers. It's unreal. The most ever, I think. I don't know if that's a true stat, but I'm going to just say it is. School record, 5 straight red teams.
We're breaking that. We're breaking that news right now.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's look. We haven't done these for like 2 weeks, actually. So, Sean, is there any play that you specifically want to mention? And I don't want to say I have all of them, but
well, we'll see. I'll just see what you have.
Okay.
Break them down.
I did
watch it, and if you didn't see Corey's film breakdown on Twitter, go check it out.
Yes, thank you. You want to go with good Cliff or bad Cliff first? How about
that? Cliff or Clip?
Clifford.
Good Cliff.
Good Cliff? There we go. Oh. There we go. This is good Cliff. 3rd and 8. He comes back. He drops back. Unblocked rusher, makes the guy miss. Finds. I think that's strange. Yeah. Easy first down. This is why you have Cliff still in the game, because he does have the ability to make these plays. And actually, there's a second guy he evades. I didn't even realize that. He makes 2 guys miss there. Great play on 3rd down. He looks great. Life is really good. If he could do this all the time, then we'd have no issue, right?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest difference. Sometimes you get asked, how has Clifford gotten better between year 1 and now? This is probably where he's shown the most improvement. Just being able to shimmy out of the pocket and find the open guy, keeping his eyes downfield. Yeah, same thing. Eyes continue to stay downfield. He gets right by the line of scrimmage, doesn't cross. He has that awareness, and he's able to fire it in there. I mean, sometimes sometimes I think he's better on the run out of the
100%.
pocket. I really do than inside the pocket. And some guys are like that. That there are guys that do their best work outside the pocket, and Cliff's just one of them.
Yep, 100% agree. He definitely. It doesn't really make sense all the time, but I think that's the case for sure. Let's go kind of bad Cliff, and we'll save the worst Cliff for the end, if I have it. Let's see here. I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. 3rd and 10, 3-man rush. No one's open. He ends up rolling out of the pocket for no reason, has to throw the ball away. Again, this isn't his worst play or anything, but there's no reason for him to leave the pocket. If that running back actually forces that linebacker down the field on that wheel route, or whatever you want to call it, there actually is a pretty big potential for a running lane there. Who knows if they would have completed it anywhere, but he didn't really give himself much of a chance.
Yeah, he could have hung in there a little more, because I don't think he was really in any danger of getting sacked. I think yeah, right there. I am pointing. I think he thought that they might have beaten looks like Warmly, but then Juice slides over and picks him up. I don't know if he thought that was going to happen, but if he did, he probably could have took off then and ran for the first down, or close to the first down. That linebacker might have gotten him, but it's not his worst play, though, because I could kind of see what he was thinking.
Yeah, and again, I'm okay with him getting out of the pocket and stressing that.
Yeah, and he threw the ball away. He didn't force anything.
Yeah. All right, now let's get into the bad Cliff. Also 3rd and 10. Perfect dig route here for Lambert Smith. Parker Washington actually comes across first, vacates all the defensive backs, and then there's a beautiful pocket. I'll pause it for you guys, actually, if I can. Right there.
Yeah, that's a throw you got to make.
Yep. I mean, it's right there, and that ball is like 10 feet over Keandre Lambert's head. I mean, the defensive back couldn't even get it, which is a good thing, obviously. But that is honestly the same exact play. Maybe not the same receiver, but that's the exact same play where he missed on the Purdue interception. Yeah.
And one of his Achilles heels is he misses high. When he misses high, and that's not good. You'd always rather miss low, because at least the ball just goes in the ground. But if you miss high and that safety's in the right spot, that's going the other way, and it might be a pick six. So,
do you think it's because of this guy right here, this linebacker that's covering Theo Johnson? I think it might be Tyler Warren. I can't tell.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why he always throws it high? He's so worried about those linebackers that he
could be.
I mean, this guy gets his ball up at the defensive line too. It actually is a little bit closer than I thought, but still, I don't know if it's just a height thing with him. Like literally just not tall enough sometimes. I don't really know, but it's obviously not gone away.
How tall is Cliff? He's like 6'2". I know he's not.
Yeah,
he's not a giant, but
I would say 6'2", 6'1". I don't think he's much taller, because Drew Aller's 6'5", and he's much taller than Cliff.
Yeah,
I'm sure someone on YouTube will tell us in a second. Okay, we are not going to forget about this, and I'm going to put this up here because it's important. We did not mention Jake Pinniger at all in the last week's episode, which is a huge shame on us. If anyone's ever wanted to give us a bad review on Apple Podcasts, which, by the way, if you give us a 5-star review, we'll send you a sticker and read it on the show. But if you're going to ever give us a bad review, that would have been the one time where I was like, yeah, we kind of deserved it. We didn't talk about Jake Pinniger, and he had 3 field goals, 2 of which from 45+ in poor conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he deserves a lot of love. I mean, Jake has become, I'm ready to say, he's become a weapon for us. He's been good from outside of 40. And at the beginning of the season, he wasn't even good inside of 40. So market improvement, and he hasn't missed an extra point or a field goal, knock on wood, in Big Ten play yet. So he's really become a consistent weapon for Penn State, and couldn't be happier. Do you know he could come back next year?
That wasn't something I was ever thinking about, but I think he was asked that when he was made available. I think before or after the Michigan game, someone asked him about that. So I don't want to sound like a know-it-all, but yes, but I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that until a few days ago.
I wish I remember what he said
Huh.
because he was asked about it, and I don't think he gave like a clear answer.
Interesting. Oh, do you have the play where Franklin gets
No.
called for the
I don't know
personal
what play
foul?
that was.
It
Do you know?
was, I could tell you it. It was the play where so I was sitting, as I told you, I was sitting with Mike and Alex, and Cliff was rolling out, and he had Katron Allen open in the flat, and he didn't throw to him. He threw into traffic. And I'm 90% sure Franklin was yelling at Clifford.
He was. That is 100% true.
Yes. And because that's what me and Mike were saying. Like, they're like, why was that thrown? And at first I said, it's a sideline warning. They must be trying to tell Franklin to back off it. And then they called an unsportsmanlike conduct on him. And we were saying he's yelling at Clifford. He's yelling. He's not even yelling at you guys. So I think that that was the play where he got called for that. And it's such a soft penalty. And God, Franklin, it's a lot easier on the refs than Joe and Bill O'Brien were.
Yeah.
He'll work them sometimes, but he's a lot calmer with them than they were.
Yeah, I can't imagine that anything that Franklin said was anything close to what Bill O'Brien probably said.
Absolutely not. Bill O'Brien and Joe love to work the refs, like from the beginning of the game on. And Franklin, once in a while, he'll give it to them, but very rarely.
Yeah. Robert Parker said he thinks that the footwork is a thing for why Clifford is so consistent. I'm not a quarterback guru, but I've heard that before. And I think that now, but obviously the next question is then why can't that have been, or why hasn't that been fixed? And I think that leads right into Dorito's point, which is Clifford didn't have a great offensive line, and maybe it's just habit at this point. Like, it is what it is. And I think both of you guys are correct in that. Okay, I wanted to go to this play because this was the two defensive players of the week on defense, both doing awesome jobs here. This is a 3rd and 9. Chop Robinson, he had 2 sacks, but this wasn't one of them. But he blows the left tackle up. Then he gets held. And then Abdul Carter playing spy just chases down Talia Tagovailoa. That right there, just both those guys are coming back next year. And that is, you want to talk about excitement for 2023. That right there kind of just epitomizes that or illustrates it.
Yeah, I mean, Abdul Carter, I haven't seen a linebacker. There hasn't been a linebacker at Penn State that just covers as much ground as he had since Micah. And I mean, before that, probably Lobar. So, I mean, if you're not excited about Abdul Carter, well, I don't know. You probably don't watch a whole lot of Penn State games.
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
Do you have the one that he forced a fumble on?
Ooh.
Because that was another one of those plays where he just hustled, and then he was right there, right by the sideline.
I have that
so
forced
it wasn't
fumble.
in bounds.
The one at the end of the game.
Robbie Dwyer, right?
I think, but I didn't see them give him credit on ESPN stats.
I think Steve Jones said Jamari Button got credit.
Yeah, I think he did. But I don't know. I think Budden recovered it.
Okay.
But I didn't see on ESPN's stat sheet, which, ESPN, I don't know. It didn't have a forced fumble listed anywhere. So I don't know if they just said he fumbled it himself. I don't know. But yeah, I thought Dwyer deserved it or somebody deserved it. But no, I don't think I have the Abdul Carter forced fumble.
Yeah.
I did want to show you the offensive line dominating because we love offensive linemen dominating. Just look at Drew Shelton get to the next level. Drew Shelton and Juice Scruggs. That's hard to say a couple times in a row. Getting to the next level there. Sal Wormley getting to the next level there. I love watching these guys get to the next level, Sean. It's just unreal to me watching them, how much they've progressed from last year. It's just fascinating.
Yeah. And those are a lot of backups playing there too. And it emphasizes, because last year the starters didn't even block that well. So we have 3 backups in, and we still dominated on the ground. Granted, was it a great rush defense? No, but last year and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that, we weren't dominating teams like this either. So, I mean, this is real progress with a lot of young players.
So this play, I think Clifford and Scruggs tie each other up. And that's why Clifford almost falls. But then also, if you watch Scruggs here, he's on his knees already. So I don't know what happened. They tripped or someone stepped on somebody. I don't really know. But this is the same play, 4th and 1, same play that they got blown up against Ohio State. Really, Sal Wormley got blown up. Then watch Sal Wormley, the right guard here. He blocks his guy well, but then he doesn't necessarily do it on purpose. But because Juice Scruggs got blown up, his caboose actually blocks Scruggs' guy just enough there. Look at him reaching. He can't get him. And then that actually is the reason Singleton's free to just take this all the way. Also, Singleton didn't bounce it there on the outside. He kept going straight and housed it. But Sal Wormley actually ends up blocking 2 guys on that play.
Just like we drew it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that also shows growth from Nick Singleton. Because like you said, early in the year, he's bouncing everything to the outside. He's been much better keeping things inside and just being more patient. And that's real growth. So, and that's him grow. He's in my mind gotten better from where he was at when he was first coming in, and he was really good the first month. Then he hit a bit of a wall because when you try doing that all the time on Big Ten teams, it doesn't work as well. But he's become a more patient and more complete running back.
Yep. Yeah, no, for sure. We got a question asked on Twitter. I'm not going to include it on the question portion, but asking if Theo Johnson's blocking better, specifically out of this full house formation. Thought he did a decent job on this play. He's not Brenton Strange blocking level, in my opinion, but he's definitely improved. I thought last year he was a little bit of a liability, and I think he's definitely improved. But I love this play. Watch Brenton Strange on this one. Dorito rightfully corrected me and said that actually is towards New York, but you get the point. He was blowing people up all day long.
Yeah. Theo is the weakest blocker of the 3, but I think they've all shown improvement. I think Tyler Warren's become a better blocker this year as well.
Yeah, I think Warren's improved as well.
For sure.
I did not include Drew Aller's incomplete pass to Parker Washington. I thought we weren't going to be too hard on him because I already pointed it out on Twitter when it originally happened, and people came after me as if I had never said anything bad about Sean Clifford in my entire life. Good play fake here, though. I mean, this really gets to the linebackers and then gets, again, no one's going to fault him for or say great things about this throw, but it's an open layup. But you can still put this ball in a place where Clifford can have some momentum. If he throws this on the wrong side of him, he probably doesn't get the first down. So it's the little things that no one cares about, but they make a difference in the long run. So nice simple play there for Drew Aller. But overall, Sean, I didn't think that was Drew Aller's best day, and I think we may have talked about that a little bit.
Right, it wasn't, but I mean things happen, and he played in the worst conditions of the game. It was so weird. Like it just started raining sideways, and then here comes Aller. So he kind of
foreshadowing.
Yeah. So he kind of got the crap end of the stick on that. But I mean, you still have to play better in the rain. But he will. I'm not gonna beat up on Drew Aller on this podcast. It's not gonna happen.
Not yet.
Not yet. Next year I might, but not right now.
Okay, I just wanted to show that play. Zane Durant, nice sack there. Good team effort.
Yep.
This was the first 3rd down play, and honestly, it felt like this was the end for Maryland already. So.
I thought they moved too because I saw our players point. It was right in front of me. I thought they moved as well. But hey, I'll take the result. And Zane Durant is a guy that I don't think we've talked a whole lot about this year, but he's a freshman that has burnt his red shirt, and I think when he bulks up a little bit, he's going to be a more complete player, and he's going to make more and more of an impact.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. I think he's going to be an interesting guy because he doesn't have that great size, right? That Franklin tried to say was the reason why they didn't beat Michigan, which we've kind of debunked at this point. But that to me is why you don't necessarily have to have great size, because I mean, Zane Durant, you could argue sometimes having a slightly smaller guy as far as leverage goes is a little bit better sometimes at the defensive line spot. I mean, look at Kevin Givens is still playing in the NFL right now, having a really good, I don't know if he's still having a good season, but he's had a really good career.
I heard his name on the radio the other night when I was driving home from Philly. So he made some kind of play. And Anthony Zettel played a long time in the league. And he was awesome at Penn State. So, yeah, we kind of chalk that up as a lame excuse when it was said, and I stand by that. I think size wasn't really that big of an issue against Michigan. We had a lot of issues, but that wasn't one of the premier issues.
Yeah. I did like Robert Parker said he's turning into Adrian Peterson. I'm not, as far as Nick Singleton's concerned, not Zane Durant. I kind of like that comparison, actually. I'm not saying he's Adrian Peterson yet, but as far as the speed attached with some physicality we've seen lately, I think that could be an interesting comparison moving forward. But
yeah, their running styles are similar.
Yeah, I was struggling for comparison for Singleton for a while because I didn't think he was like Saquon Barkley. I didn't think he was like I thought for a little bit he was kind of like Evan Royster, but he's too fast to be like Evan Royster. I don't think he's twitchy like Tony Hunt as in the same way. So the Adrian Peterson comparison though,
and he's stronger than Miles.
Yes. Yep. So, we'll have to keep that in mind. Alex Anstead should be joining us here in about 19 seconds. So we'll see if he's ready to rock and roll, and we'll go into the Big Ten pick'em. Make sure you filled out your Big Ten pick'em. I didn't get it. I didn't get it up until Tuesday. That's what she said. But I don't know if I've even put it into the podcast description for the Sunday episode. So apologize for that, but it will be in this week's episode's podcast description. But yeah, apologize for that. It's, like I said, it's been a little bit crazy around here lately. But make sure you get your pick'em filled out. Sean and I are still at the top of the leaderboard, just so everyone else, inviting you guys all to suck it. It's close though. It's really close.
Yeah.
Rich A. I think Rich Akers. He got a perfect bracket, and he doubled down on Wisconsin, Iowa just because, and he got it right. So I almost wanted to give him an extra.
That's a bold move. Yeah.
I almost wanted to give him an extra point for that because that was one of the games I think you and I both got wrong, and he doubled down on it. So he just kind of said, "In your face." So
interesting. Yeah. I mean, I just have, and I still struggle so much with betting on Spencer Petras to do anything, but it's Iowa. I mean, they find ways to drag teams in the mud and win them, and they've been doing that for a long time. So, but still, I just thought Spencer Petras, like that guy makes Ricky Stanzi look like Patrick Mahomes. So, but hey, credit to him.
Yeah. Guess I'll plug real quick here. 5-star reviews again. We don't have any. We're stuck at 93 right now, so we're 7 away. We need 7 more 5-star reviews to get to 100. Maybe we'll do if we get to 100, we'll do like a raffle. How about that for a hardcore Penn State football hat?
Can we do a pizza party?
We cannot do a pizza party. We can. I mean, I can order you a pizza delivered to your house, and we can both eat pizza during a show.
That's fine.
And we can just tell everyone else to.
That's fine. Yeah, we'll all eat pizza.
Everyone else on YouTube just to get pizza, and we can have a little pizza, a little like plan it for sometime in January or something like that. A little pizza party.
Let's do it up.
Would that make you happy, Sean?
That would make me thrilled.
All right. Well, it looks like we have Alex joining us now. How's it going, Alex?
It's going pretty well. What about you all?
Good. Now,
Doing
the The cameras are going to look funny for a second. We'll get that taken care of. Saturday tradition, how's it going over there?
It's going pretty well. Can't complain. It's been obviously a busy year, but we're getting to the end, so kind of bittersweet.
You guys being nice to Penn State over there?
Yeah, I would say so. Kind of have to be when, it's such a top-heavy conference this year, because hate on Penn State, you're hating on like half the conference.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, I can't believe this year in particular has really flown. I can't believe we only have 2 more left.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, the biggest one in the Big Ten is coming in 2 weeks, so.
Yeah, that'll be crazy.
Yeah, who do you think comes out of the West?
That's a tough question. I would tell you something different every week. I'm gonna go Minnesota right now, but ask me after Saturday. I'll probably go with the winner of that game.
Yeah, that was one that I had trouble picking as well. I was like going back and forth on it, but who knows? The West is so crazy.
Yeah, I hate the whole division thing.
I do too. I think it's the worst setup as it could be. I hate this particular setup. It's been a running joke with me and Corey. I ask Corey every week, is Nebraska still in it? Because it just felt like they were always mathematically in it, but I think their expiration date has finally come.
Yeah, I think they're finally out. Them and Northwestern are I think
them and Northwestern, yeah.
Alex, if you would, what are your thoughts on Penn State? You're obviously not a Penn State football fan, so you can provide a little outside perspective for us. What do you think of Penn State right now? 8-2, sitting at number 11 in the college football playoff rankings.
So yeah, I think a lot of people are too low on Penn State personally, and yes, they haven't beaten some of the teams that Tennessee has, LSU has, but I mean their losses are as good as anyone's in my opinion. That Ohio State game, the score wasn't really indicative of how it went, as you all know. It's a game I thought they should have won, and they handled for 3 quarters and some change. Michigan game was obviously a tough one, but when you're losing to 2 top 3 teams, one on the road, the one at home was really competitive. I don't know. They went and handled Auburn, LSU. You saw them against Auburn in that same place. Jordan Hare, they squeaked one out by 4. I don't know. It seems to me that people are a little too low on them. I think it just so happens they're in the best division in the sport. So that's kind of where it comes into play. But as far as Penn State overall, I'm kind of impressed, honestly, because if people don't know, James Franklin was like a 500 coach the last 2 seasons, if you count COVID and last year. And he really turned it around despite everyone's Drew Aller's takes and, switching quarterbacks all year long. It was kind of a lot to just take in, especially I feel like the closer Penn State fans knew Sean Clifford was probably the better option to go with if you're going to win right away. But I mean, Drew Aller's, he's going to be really good, and that's pretty evident. But I've been impressed, honestly, with Sean Clifford fighting through all that adversity, and he's probably a top 4 quarterback in the Big Ten now, which is pretty impressive considering.
Hey, Alex, there for a little bit, I had to get on your case a little bit because you had Cliff so low behind likes of Connor Basilick and everybody. You mentioned him a little bit. We obviously know his ceiling. I guess at this point of the season, Penn State can't go to the playoff. Are you surprised we haven't seen more Drew Aller at this point? Do you think we probably should at this point? Where do you sit at that?
I mean, I think mixing him in kind of like a similar thing to J.J. McCarthy and Cade McNamara last year would be smart. But I know he's leading. I saw something today. I think it was 247 or someone posted he's leading all quarterback freshmen from the class last year in snaps. So it's not like he's not playing. But it's just a hard situation. You can't really bench a guy who's 24 years old and still probably gives you the highest floor, in my opinion, to win right now. When the season, like, you could say it's over, but in my opinion, I think the whole playoff or bust thing is stupid. I think Penn State is it's a very good chance they go in 10-2 and, get a New Year's Six against a team like, who knows, LSU, someone like that, maybe Alabama. In my opinion, that's a big place to keep winning because it just shows recruits, you're still in it. I just think there's a lot still to play for. A lot of people are just all playoff, but in my opinion, I do think, to answer your question, I think they should mix them in maybe a little more, but I don't think the job should be just handed over to him after what Cliff's done this year.
Yeah, that's a good point. To clarify that tweet that we had, because I want to make sure we get it right. It was 24/7 Sports, because we got it wrong on the tweet. It was 24/7 Sports top 100 players from the 2022 class. Quarterback wise, he has played the second most snaps so far. And then the number one guy was a quarterback from Texas A&M, and he has started, or not even started, but the 3 games he's played in A&M is actually 0-3 in those 3 games. Cade Klubnik is one guy that I was curious about snaps, but he actually hasn't played anywhere close to Drew Aller's amount of snaps. And he actually won the Syracuse game for them, and then they still went with DJ Uiagalelei anyway. So I thought that was kind of funny. Big Ten's crazy. I don't know if everybody knows this, but your allegiance is also to someone in the Big Ten East. Where are your thoughts on the 2 teams Penn State has lost to? Ohio State, Michigan. We were just talking earlier. I think most of our chat is leaning towards Michigan beating Ohio State. Who do you think's better right now? Who do you think's going to win? Because that doesn't always, those 2 things aren't the same. And then, do you think it's possible for both to still get in the playoff?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think all of us are kind of dying to know the answer because it's just been like a build up the whole season for that game. And especially if you're a Big Ten guy, you didn't look forward to Georgia, Tennessee in the preseason. Like, you never thought that was going to be the game. You thought this was going to be like this one. And then whenever Penn State matches up with the 2 were kind of the big ones. But yeah, as far as that game goes, I've kind of been back and forth about this. I think you'd have to lean. I would agree with what Joel Klatt's been saying recently, how Ohio State has the higher ceiling, Michigan has the higher floor. So take what you want with that. I think Ohio State has, the higher potential. So they have more talent, obviously, than everybody in the country outside of maybe Georgia and Alabama. So I would probably lean Ohio State there, but it's hard to pick against Michigan's physicality at the same time. Especially if it is a game like last year where it's cold, it's windy, it's snow. Who knows if rain is in the forecast? I've heard rumors there could be rain. Everybody's been checking the weather. So I don't know. That's a tough one depending on the weather to me. I think on the safe side, you'd probably go Ohio State wins anywhere from 3 to 7 points just because they're at home. I think if it's at Michigan, I would probably give Michigan the slight edge. But yeah, I would give Ohio State the slight edge in both to answer that question. And then I think
hold on, before you get to the playoff question, I'm gonna cut you off and say, who else besides Big Ten fans are checking the weather more than 14 days out for this, or I guess less than 14 now, but not even in a 10-day forecast, and people are already checking the weather? That's fantastic. That's the most Big Ten-esque tweet ever right there.
Oh yeah, I mean, can you imagine if it's something like this game tonight, this MAC game, the Western Michigan game? It's just,
I saw that. Yeah.
blizzard.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter.
I did not know that's actually happening right now. Where I get what's more important, Alex, than hardcore Penn State football on Wednesday night? I mean, move over, Maction. We got bigger fish to fry. Okay, I'll let you get back into it. Playoff. Do you think both teams can still get in?
I think the answer is yes. Is it likely? For what everyone's been saying, I've kind of been a little surprised being a Big Ten guy myself. They've been saying no. They've had weak schedules, blah, blah, blah. It's just hard for me to just hear that and think like, oh, Clemson's had a tougher one, or TCU. I mean, yes, they have more ranked wins, but do we really think Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Texas, do you think those teams are going to come in and beat Michigan or Ohio State on any given day? Probably not. I think those teams are a step below Penn State. I think Penn State's, that step below those 2 teams. So I think there's a little disconnect between how good the Big Ten is and how good people really think it is and how much credit they're giving it to, especially at the top. Like, it's hard for me to imagine those two teams, Michigan and Ohio State, aren't top four as far as how good they are, but I think there's a path. I don't know if we're going to get to see that path. I wouldn't think we will unless it's two SEC teams, which we've seen before, unfortunately. But yeah, I would lean, to answer your question, I would say yes, there's a path for it to happen, but I don't know. I feel like you'd have to have like a double overtime thriller, and then TCU loses, and then the only other team getting in is like Tennessee, and then the loser of the game, obviously. And then USC would have to lose too, I guess.
Yeah, they would. But I think if you ask me personally, I'm a chaos man. I think chaos is going to happen. I do think TCU loses at least one game. And I do think USC loses at least one game. And I don't know if that by itself is enough, but I think it'll make it interesting. Sean, I know you want to say something about the strength of the Big Ten, and I'll let you get there in a second. I just want to add to your point, Alex, if I can remember what you said. Okay, Sean, go ahead, and I'll come back to it when I think of
Yeah, Alex, I don't think the Big Ten is particularly strong, and I think we agree with this. It's very top heavy. And I just think resumes matter. And if you're a Michigan fan or you're an Ohio State fan, I think it's very simple. You go and you win that last game of the year, then you win the Big Ten, and you're in. And if you don't, I mean, really, like the best team you would beat is Penn State. Michigan had them at home, and look, they handled them, no question about it. But I think of Penn State as a good team who hasn't beaten anybody this year. And to me, it's hard. I would have trouble putting them in. I wouldn't put another Big Ten. I wouldn't put them in over an undefeated TCU team. Now, if it's a TCU team with a loss, different story. So I think there's a path in my world, but I would probably lean no. But that's my 2 cents.
Okay, I remember what I was going to say real quick. Somebody asked us today on Twitter how many wins or what Penn State's record would be if they were in the Big 12. And I personally think maybe they have one loss, but I was trying to compromise a little bit. I think I said 9-1 or 8-2. And they said that they thought Penn State would have 4 losses in the Big 12. So, I mean, that's as far as we're possibly going to get.
In the Big 12.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's some like
we'd get tripped up by someone, but only one.
There's some really, really. Sean will call them average teams. I will call them good teams. But there's just a bunch of good teams in the Big 12. But there's nobody that terrifies me. There's nobody. Honestly, I thought for a little bit maybe Oklahoma State was going to be that team. But man, have they dropped off significantly. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there because I thought that was real. I think I tweeted. I said I think we're getting trolled for the first time because I couldn't believe what that person. Oh, and then they finished off by saying you guys should fire Franklin and go after Lane Kiffin, and I was like, just hit the bingo card for Twitter on the night. We're good for the night. All right, Alex, if you're ready, we can go into the Big Ten pick'em.
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't want to put any pressure on you, but the last couple of weeks have been pretty good. I gotta give a shout out to Matty Fresh, who was our guest picker last week. He was like adamantly sold on Purdue was going to win against Illinois. Like just was going to fight somebody if you took Illinois to beat Purdue. And I was like, I don't know, man. This Purdue let me down against Iowa the previous week. And he was right. They ended up getting the dub 28-21. And I think he only missed one game last week. So someone has gone perfect. That was PSU Analytics. That was Nate from PSU Analytics. But if you get around 80% ballpark, that'll put you in the top 3 or 4. So no pressure there. I just so everyone knows how it works. You get 1 point for properly guessing the game outright. So no spreads, just outright. And you can double down on one game, which means you'll get 2 points instead of 1 point for a single game. And you can choose that at the end or let me know when we go through these. I've made the joke, I think, like the last month now, but we always say that maybe next year we're going to only choose certain games you can double down off of and no easy ones. But we didn't make that rule for this year. So you can choose any one you want. We'll start with the noon games and work our way up, but we'll leave the Penn State game for last. So let's start. This is a big one right off the bat. Well, maybe not a crazy big one because Michigan's still favored by 18, but Illinois trying to rebound 7-3 on the road at Michigan. This is the Fox noon kickoff, and I think this is going to be an ugly game. I feel like Brett Bielema is going to go in there, and I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but I feel like this is just going to be an ugly one, just because of the conflicting play styles. Alex, you want to go first? What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I would kind of agree with that. And just because Michigan, they say they're not going to look ahead, but we all know what's on your mind right now. If you're Michigan, it's Ohio State. It's that game. So I do agree. It's the conflicting, physicality, run heavy, great defensive teams. Illinois is a very poor man's Michigan, in my opinion. So Chase Brown's really good too. So I don't know what's going to happen there exactly. I'm definitely taking Michigan, but I think it's going to be tough for them to cover the spread.
Yeah, Chase Brown throwing the Heisman pose this week. Over under?
I hope not, because
okay, I really didn't mean to drag the guy in the mud that much. Like, I just thought it would be a cute, funny tweet. And next, it's like it went viral. I was like, oh man, I kind of feel bad because I think he got banged up towards the end. I'm not even. Maybe Alex, is he 100% ready, good to go? I don't know.
I'm not completely sure. It's so hard in college. Like in the NFL, they gave us those reports. We just have no idea.
Yep.
I would assume he'll play, but he could be half healthy for all I know.
Yeah. Sean, you're going Michigan, I assume?
I'm going with Michigan, too. I think they have to be a little careful, but I think they'll be fine because, like you said, it's a similar style. I think Harbaugh's very comfortable going in the mud with Illinois, and it'll end up being about a 24-10 type game.
Yeah, that sounds about what I'm going with as well. YouTube, if you're listening to YouTube right now, drop your comments. Let us know who you're picking as well. If you haven't done your pick 'em, make sure you do your pick 'em. Let's go on to Wisconsin at Nebraska, also at noon. Wisconsin's 10.5-point favorites on the road. I think everybody in the state of Nebraska is just kind of ready for this season to be over. Sean, do you want to just, I don't know, give me something positive to say about Nebraska, because I'm assuming you're taking Wisconsin to win this. But give me something positive to say about Nebraska.
The season will be over soon. Yeah.
And it's supposed to be good in basketball this year? I have no idea. I don't even know.
Usually not, but I don't know for sure. Usually not, though.
I doubt it. So,
yeah, like I said, the season will be over soon. I could see them swinging big for a bigger time coach than you think they might get. Maybe they go after Lane Kiffin.
Lane Kiffin's going to coach 5 teams.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin's going everywhere. And really, the Nebraska job is it's a tough. I don't know. He's in the West, but I don't know how these new divisions are going to be. But anyway, I think they could get a decent coach. So I guess that's what I'll say about Nebraska. But they're losing this week.
Alex, I'm not going to make you say anything positive. What are your thoughts on this game?
No, I mean, like you said, positive. You have 2 games left, so that's cool for them. As far as the game, it's not going to go well, I don't think. I think from what I've heard, if Casey Thompson's out, I know Purdy's out, they're in a lot of trouble at quarterback, and they're in trouble in so many different areas. This team they don't play together. They're just, I mean, it's hard to play together. You don't even have their same head coach anymore. I think they're going to lose, and they're going to lose relatively bad. Wisconsin seems to found their way a little bit more. I know they lost last week, but they're at least playing better. So yeah, I'm going to go Wisconsin big.
Yeah, we'll get to the Big Ten West and how it could shape up a little bit more in a second. Well, towards the end, because there's a big one at 4:00. But let's go and just what is an awful Northwestern team. I mean, I've seen some really bad Northwestern teams, But Alex, I don't know if I've seen one this pathetic. I mean, this is for even Pat Fitzgerald, for even like non-Pat Fitzgerald Northwestern, this is awful. They are 18.5-point underdogs on the road at Purdue. Purdue's trying to get to their 7th win of the year. They're not going to get to I guess they could still get to 9-4 if they won their bowl game. But this is just, I mean, this is on Fox Sports 1. I don't know. Do they have Matt Millen cover? Hopefully they have Matt Millen. We don't have Matt Millen, do we, Sean?
I have no idea.
Usually Matt Millen does Fox Sports 1 game, so I'm hoping Matt Millen's in the Northwestern Purdue game. But Alex, I mean, what the hell is going on in Evanston? Are they all excited about their new stadium? They just decided not to play football anymore?
I don't know. They're doing a lot of studying, obviously, per usual down there. But they're usually that team that can go from 3-9 to 9-3, depending on, like, they'll have their younger years where they struggle, but they have all their seniors and then they're good again for 1 year. I don't know what's going on. Honestly, I don't think they'd ever fire Pat Fitzgerald because he's done everything he could, like, with this program. He's an alumni. I mean, you can't get rid of him. But regardless, I don't know how they've been so bad. I thought Nebraska was a little better. So that game in Ireland kind of threw me off. It threw everyone a little bit off because they looked relatively good. Like, Northwestern's throwing the ball around, which they're usually a run-heavy team, like every Big Ten West team. But they've had some quarterback struggles, and they have a pretty good running back. That's about all I can say for them. They're gonna have a hard time. But Purdue doesn't make any sense to me either. I couldn't figure them out to save my life after week 1, where, as you guys know, they had Penn State on the ropes. Didn't work out, and I don't know. They vary week to week, but they're going to win big this week, I would assume.
Yeah. Sean, I feel like you have to look up, like, when you get your, like, annual almanac to see what the if it's going to be a wet summer or a dry summer. It also tells you whether or not Northwestern's going to be good at football or not. Like, it's just a coin flip at this point.
Yeah, it's usually not back-to-back years too. Usually, like Alex was saying, it's 1 year they're bad, 1 year they're good. And now they're in their 2nd straight bad year. So, yeah, obviously boiler up in this one. And if I were a betting man, I take Purdue with the points.
I'm over trusting Purdue to win me any money. I don't even trust that. But yeah, I'm going to take Purdue to win. Higgins says on YouTube that Matt Millen has the Indiana-Michigan State game. So, and then he says he deserves that. So thank God we don't have to worry about Matt Millen trying to pronounce Tua Tagovailoa, because that man cannot say, I'm sorry, Talia Tagovailoa. He cannot say that dude's name ever. Go back to, I think Penn State's played Maryland twice, not this year, but the previous 2 years. And we had Matt Millen for both of those games. And I mean, he got so tongue twisted. I mean, it was something. Anyway, this has turned into a Matt Millen hate show real quick. Which I love the guy for him being as a person, but he's not a great commentator. Speaking of Indiana, Michigan State, this is also at noon. Like, everyone's playing at noon for the most part in the Big Ten. Indiana at Michigan State. Michigan State is favored by 10.5. I think it was in the 3rd quarter, and Indiana was already down like 42-7 to Ohio State. I feel like they've already mailed their season in. I really like Tom Allen, Alex, but is Tom Allen's seat getting warm even for Indiana standards?
I mean, I would think so. The problem is he had his 1 year where it's going to keep him up for at least a couple of years. But yeah, I would say it's got to be getting a little bit toasty. As far as this game goes, I think Michigan State's going to win. I think they're playing a little better now. But Indiana's, in my opinion, looked as bad as anyone in the Big Ten outside of Northwestern. And when I've watched Indiana, they've honestly looked worse, like eye test wise. Every time I watch them, they're just getting absolutely destroyed. So it's tough when you're in the Big Ten East, but they've been a punching bag all year.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, Sammy from Hoosier Huddle, who we had on, when I was on his podcast, I actually asked him the same question. I was like, at what point is Tom Allen on the hot seat? And he said he is not. And the reason he said so was there's so much at Indiana that's just outside of his control. Like, he had to actually pay out of his personal pocket for his offensive coordinator. So I mean, the infrastructure at Indiana just like that's not how you build even a good program, let alone anything to compete nationally. So I feel like Tom Allen's. I think his hands are tied behind his back. His one hand is tied behind his back a little bit. But yeah, at some point you gotta win games. But anyway, that's enough about Indiana. Michigan State's gonna win this one. Tuck's coming to beat the Hoosiers.
Scares me a little bit that Michigan State might have a little bit of momentum heading into the Penn State game. Of course, Michigan State will look like perennial powerhouse by the time Penn State faces them. Yeah, I like Tom Allen. I agree. I don't think he's yet on the hot seat, but man, he's got to do it. If that's really true, Sean, about him paying out of pocket for his offensive coordinator and then his offensive coordinator eating a bag of eggs, I mean, that is just that's rough. I mean, it's one thing to go get an offensive coordinator and then struggle. It's another thing for you personally to be paying for him, and then for that offensive performance to be where they're at. That's like. I mean, you hate to laugh, but that stinks, especially for a guy we like in Tom Allen. But hey, maybe that's what you get for not converting on a 2-point conversion. Yeah, Michigan State's going to win this one and set up a pretty big one for the Land Grant Trophy at the end of the year. Let's go Ohio State at Maryland. I do not know if Talia Tagovailoa. Maybe that should be on a soundboard, Sean. Is Matt Millen trying to say Tagovailoa? I think that would be super funny. I don't know if Talia Tagovailoa is playing. I'm assuming he's going to. Hopefully he's a little bit more healthy because he looked pathetic. I mean, let's just be honest. He wasn't very mobile. He was scared after he got sacked a couple times. I really thought when I made the predictions, because I never predict anyone to go undefeated. I always try to find a way someone's going to lose. I actually had this being the game Ohio State was going to lose, Alex. And because I thought the Maryland offense was going to be enough to keep up with Ohio State. And I think if Tagovailoa is healthy,
you had Maryland beating Ohio State.
They had to lose to somebody. I wasn't going to have them go undefeated. But if Talia Tagovailoa is not even close to being healthy, I don't know how this one even stays remotely close, Alex.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could see how I circled this game a while back, and this was after Maryland played Michigan close, and then they won a couple games. And I was like, oh, Maryland, borderline top 25 team, and they have that game at home at the end of the year. It's kind of a trap game. But, as you guys saw, Talia's gotten hurt, and I think that's been kind of stringing along, and he's been playing through it, and probably not for the better because, like you guys said, he's been playing afraid. It's not been good. They do have some talent on that offense, but they haven't been able to spread the ball around. I was actually kind of shocked that Penn State beat him as bad as they did when I saw he was playing. Nothing against Penn State, but I really thought this Maryland team was going to take the next step, which they kind of have. But I don't know. This is the game I'm going to double down on Ohio State because I know they're not losing this game. But originally I thought it could be a shootout, which would have been cool the week before the Michigan game. But now I'm thinking 56-14.
All right, Sean, give me hell. I can't believe you picked Maryland to beat Ohio State before the year started. Oh, I wish I knew that. Anyway,
okay. Do you understand this? Do you understand?
Yes, I do. I understand your.
I could have been a homer and said it was going to be Penn State who upset them, but I was thinking outside the box. And remember, a couple of years ago, they went to overtime against Maryland.
Yeah, well, and that kind of speaks to the strength of schedule now, doesn't it? I mean, because the only other team that can beat them is Michigan or Penn State. But anyway, yeah, in my opinion, they should probably shut Tagovailoa down for the year. He looks hurt, and I think he's playing hurt. He's just not as effective when he's not able to run. He's a good quarterback. I don't want to take anything away from him, but he's a guy that looks like he's playing injured, and I don't think he's really helping them much out there. So, yeah, I believe I picked this game as my double down game, too, so taking the Buckeyes.
This is his last year, right? So, I mean, if he's going to try to play, he might just try to play. But, yeah, before the season started.
Yeah, is this it for him?
I think it is. He might have another year, but I don't know how any of that works anymore at this point. Before the season started, I feel like we both said that we would have taken him over Sean Clifford. And now it's like, well, obviously not as healthy he wouldn't, but I don't know if I'd make that trade regardless. It's amazing. That question by Grant LeChat back in the summer. Looking back on it now, it's like, like let's maybe do that real quick here. Well, we'll do it after this next game with Alex on here because it's an interesting kind of it's good for the brain to try to do some mental gymnastics. I'm gonna go with Ohio State to win, even though I really want to take Maryland but no, I'm not going to. If they would have scored against Penn State a couple times, maybe I would have thought about it. But getting shut out does not give me any confidence when I thought it was going to be the offense that was going to keep them in the game. Final one. This is the big one. This is for the pig. Which do you guys know the story of the Floyd Rose? Is that what it is? The Floyd Rosedale? Do you guys know the story behind it? Okay, I'm probably going to butcher this because I don't remember 100% anymore. But there's basically, oh man, I'm going to butcher it bad. Basically, the mayor of, or I don't know if it was the mayor of Minnesota or the president of Minnesota or somebody basically begged or bet that their team was going to win, and if not, they were going to have to. The other team was going to have to give them a pig for losing the game. And so I couldn't even tell you if Iowa or Minnesota won that game, but then the other team literally brought a pig to their campus and gave it to them as the reward or something like that. And I completely butchered it, but it was literally a real pig was part of this initial rivalry, which is pretty cool. It's the most Big Ten thing ever. Again, that is that's probably 20% factual what I just said, but a true pig was involved. Wilbur was involved. This is a big game, though, for 2022 as well, not just for the pig, but Iowa controls their own destiny. They have wins over Purdue, and they have a win over Illinois, right? So if they win out here against Minnesota, they're going to be set. Minnesota, Alex, what are your thoughts on Minnesota?
Yeah, I think Minnesota is a good team. They're another team that was hard to figure out. Tanner Morgan's been another guy that's been hurt throughout the season, which has really hurt them. Same with Mo Ibrahim. I think he's kind of their bell cow guy, and him being out really just honestly destroys their offense more than Tanner Morgan being out. So I'm still going to go with Minnesota here just because I just can't stand the Iowa offense and the ignorance behind not giving raises to your son who's the offensive coordinator after the job he's done is just I could go out there right now with my eyes closed and call a better game than him. It's just the same thing over and over, expecting a different outcome. It's bad. Yes, they've gotten a little better, but I'm gonna go Minnesota.
Wow.
Yeah, me too.
Wow.
Me too. I don't think Iowa's any good. I still don't think they're any good. I think if they were in the East, it would be worse for them. They play a lot of mediocre teams, and it gets them wins. But I would take Minnesota to win this one. I just think they're a more complete team too. In addition to that,
I think Iowa's hot right now, and I hate to do it, but I'm gonna take Iowa to win. I don't really care about the game. I went to Wikipedia to make sure I got this right. The Minnesota governor, Floyd Olson, this is back in the 1934 game. I guess the Iowa coach was scared that the Minnesota fans are going to come after them on the field. There's some serious trash talking before this game. So the Minnesota governor said, I will bet you a Minnesota prize hog against an Iowa prize hog that Minnesota wins. And the Iowa governor accepted this, and Minnesota won the game 13-6, which is a very Big Ten West score. And governor received an award-winning prize pig, which he donated to this owner of the Rosedale Farms, which is where you get the Floyd Rosedale. And yeah, that's it. So it was literally a bet over a prize pig. Whoever won got to receive a prize pig from the other state, which is again the most Big Ten thing ever.
Might be 13-6 again this weekend, actually.
Exactly. And if it is, Sean, will you send me a pig?
Yes.
Okay. Probably already cooked, but that's fine.
Yes, I'll send you some ham in the mail.
I hate to take Iowa because I really don't like them, to be just completely honest with you. But I think they are rolling at the right time, unfortunately. Minnesota's favored by 2.5. All right, Alex. Before we get to the Sean Clifford, before we get to the Penn State game, let's go to the Sean Clifford conversation real quick. The question was back in the summer, which quarterbacks would you take over Sean Clifford in the Big Ten? And I know you guys do quarterback rankings each week, so this is a good exercise for you. Not including C.J. Stroud, I think was the question at the beginning of the summer. And that is really, we've done this probably, 3 times now, Sean? I feel like it has really changed over the course of the season.
Yeah, about 3 times.
So, Alex, you're not going to hurt our feelings. Who you got? Oh, and yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to go Bazelak this time. Don't you worry. That was
that's one way to get you off the show real quick.
That was a 1-week thing. As you guys know, Sean Clifford's value to me changes a lot, just like to most people. There's some weeks I think he's top 3 quarterback in the Big Ten. Other weeks he's barely in the top 8. But as of right now, I'd probably go. So obviously no C.J. Stroud in the conversation. I'd probably go. Talia's not healthy, so it's hard. I can't say him, but usually I would have said him by a little bit. Aiden O'Connell's another one where he's up and down. I'm gonna have to go Aiden O'Connell and JJ McCarthy. Can't go Peyton Thorne. So just probably those 2.
Yeah, I think Peyton Thorne at the beginning of the year, maybe you and I were split, Sean. I don't remember who was who, but I feel like
I think I liked Clifford more than Peyton Thorne.
Yeah.
I think.
I don't know.
But I kind of group them together. But now I don't. Now I have Clifford significantly ahead of Peyton Thorne. He's been very off all year.
I think based off what I've seen from Aiden O'Connell in the last couple of weeks, I think I'd take Sean Clifford over him. I think Aiden O'Connell's been pretty careless with the football as of late. Before the season started, I think we were all on Aiden O'Connell over Clifford. But I've been honestly a little bit disappointed in Aiden O'Connell. I mean, imagine if he doesn't have Charlie Jones. What does that season even look like for him? I mean, that could be really bad. So.
Yeah, our one buddy has been on the Aiden O'Connell sucks bandwagon the whole year, and I don't think he sucks, but I kind of think he's much closer to Cliff than we originally thought. And Talia, when he's healthy, I agree with you, Alex. I still have Talia above Cliff.
It's amazing though, because I mean, you could make the argument that's why the Big Ten, in our opinion, isn't as strong, is because of the quarterback play has just been really meh this year. All right, Alex, we'll let you get out of here in just a second, but you got to leave us with a Penn State Rutgers prediction. And because we think we know where you're going to go with it, what else can I add to make it a little bit more flavorful? What can I do to season the prediction? Give us one bold prediction.
Yeah, so is this game being played? Where is it being played?
It's in Piscataway.
Rutgers, yeah.
Okay, interesting. They played Michigan tough for a half. They're a weird team. I don't think Rutgers is the same Rutgers where it's like, oh, they're just a straight punching bag. So I'm gonna say Penn State wins it. I think it's close for maybe a quarter and a half. But by close I mean like 7-0 Penn State. And they'll pull away and they'll win like a 44-10 game. But I think that would actually easily cover the spread. I think it was kind of close.
Spread's only 19 right now.
Yeah, I guess a bold prediction here. I think Drew Aller's going to throw 2 touchdown passes off the bench.
We'd like that.
Oh, I know. Let's throw that one in there.
You got to say that quietly around here, or people tend to freak out. I'm not going to say anything. We'll have to wait until my predictions later in the show, but okay. Alex, I think you had a really good prediction. I think you had a really good bold prediction too. I think Rutgers is a good defense, and I just wish they had a decent offense because I think that team could be considered a good team. But that defense doesn't get enough love because of what they're asked to do. But yeah, it's going to be tough for them, I think. And honestly, I think that Michigan game, if they just don't turn the ball over so much, I think they're actually in that game for a little bit more. But they literally for a second there couldn't stop throwing up on themselves. So, which we can relate to sometimes. Anything else, Alex? Do you want to plug anything? I mean, you're all over the place, social media wise. But where can people find you? Where can people find all your good stuff? Let them have it.
Yeah, I would say I'm all over the place, all over the Saturday accounts. But you can find me individually. I post most of my stuff over here at Alex Anstead CFB over on Twitter. So that's where I try to get some college football, and then obviously some jokes within college football along the way. I try not to stay too serious over there. Try to get some people fighting a little bit. That's kind of the goal of Twitter anyways. So.
Oh, we know.
Oh yeah, we like that too.
I don't know how familiar you guys are with the animal kingdom in Africa, but the zebra is typically the animal that goes around to all the other animals and is kicking them, is messing with them, is, just being a complete jerk. And that's kind of how, besides necessarily being a jerk, oh, we lost him. But besides being a jerk, that is one thing that we do like to do on Twitter. I think I've actually set this up now, Sean. Oh, we got him back.
Oh, hi, Alex.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You're good.
No,
I think
that's
I swiped on my screen and it went back.
No, that's totally fine. Well, I was just talking about zebras, so you didn't miss anything. We'll let you get out of here, man, but we appreciate you spending your Wednesday night with us.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. Hopefully Penn State can prove me right with those 2 touchdown passes.
Yeah, well, hopefully so. Otherwise,
awesome.
You're never going to be allowed to come back on here. So, but we appreciate it, man. You have a fantastic night. DM me your address, and I will show up in the middle of the night. No, I will send you a sticker though, for joining us. So send me your address. I'll get a sticker out to you.
Sounds good. Will do. Appreciate it, guys.
All right, thanks, man. Have a good night.
Thanks for coming up.
Thanks, man.
All right. Do you think I scare people?
Maybe
a little bit.
We should do a poll.
Not
Does
with
Corey
our
scare
viewers.
you?
No, not with our. No, that's not.
I better be like 80% yes. No, I think you're fine.
Probably a little bit.
Maybe like non-Penn State fans. Maybe, I don't know.
Gregory Ball, I'm not sure the names you're dropping or why, but thank you for being here nonetheless. If you're on YouTube and if you haven't liked the video yet, please like the video. Make sure you're subscribed. That goes a long way. All right. Show schedule to make sure I'm on track here still.
Are we gonna do the recruiting update or?
Oh yeah, let's recruiting update.
Okay.
Yes. I'll just throw the show schedule up while we're talking recruiting. Sean, the one thing that I really want to talk about, and then I'll just let you talk. Daniel Harris, cornerback, decommitted from Georgia. From the 24/7 Sports episode I listened to today on a podcast episode, Tyler Calvaruso.
I think you're right, yeah.
He said there's already a crystal ball in. He said he's getting close for a crystal ball in for Penn State. And this is what I'm calling a slow motion flip. It wasn't like an instantaneous, I'm decommitting from Georgia and I'm committing to Penn State. But I think the reason he decommitted from Georgia is he's probably planning to commit to Penn State. He visited back in June. He's a cornerback from Florida. So he hasn't got up here a bunch, but it seems like Penn State has continued to come after him. And I mean, Penn State is one of the best secondaries in the country right now. I saw the comparison was similar to that of Joey Porter Jr., which is an interesting comparison because obviously Joey Porter Jr. has had a really good career and is most likely going to be the first Penn State defensive back ever taken the first round of the NFL draft. So, Sean, are we right to be excited about this? Does this seem like this is something that is most likely going to happen? We were talking about, was it last week? this week, talking about how, this is probably not going to be much more than a top 15 class because we don't expect anything major to change. And then all of a sudden, boom, we might have the slow motion flip that maybe gets things going into a more positive direction.
On the Lions 24/7 podcast, whenever they have Brian Doan on, one of the questions that they always ask Doan is, does this guy help beat Ohio State? And the answer with Daniel Harris is yes. This is the type of guy you need. He's pretty fast, as well as being tall, and he has that length that Joey Porter has, maybe a little faster than him. So that's definitely exciting. The Florida defensive back to Penn State pipeline could continue. We already have a few guys in Hussey, King Mack, and Elliott Washington. They're all from Florida. So, yeah, right now it seems to be trending in Penn State's direction. It's interesting, the difference between how 24/7 ranks Mr. Harris as compared to On3 Sports. On3 Sports has him as the number 43 overall prospect. And 24/7 Sports has him, in their composite, the 154. I'm not sure where they have. I actually don't know where they have him. But On3 Sports has him as the number 6 rated cornerback, and 24/7 Sports has him as 29th. So there is a little bit of a difference there. But yeah, this is a guy that I really think will help Penn State help them get to Ohio State's level. He's not going to be the guy, but players like him increase your chance of catching up to the Penn States and frankly the Michigans of the world. So this would be a big flip from the defending national champs.
Yeah, we and how many times has Georgia taken a player from Penn State too, right? So it's nice to be on the other side of it every once in a while. I saw today an Ohio State running back decommitted from their class. Yeah. So I like to bring those things up because when Penn State has a decommit, it feels like the roof is caving in and the sky is falling, but they happen everywhere. Sometimes you're on the good side of it. Sometimes you're on the bad side of it. That's just the way it is.
That's recruiting.
We talked already about Marcus Stokes and all that on the last episode, right? Did we mention that?
Yeah, that they have a big time quarterback coming in now that he has to.
Yes. I haven't heard very much on Kavion Keys, the linebacker from North Carolina, that is still leaning towards UNC.
I think he's visiting Virginia Tech too. But
interesting.
So he's
I think
originally open.
Originally, it was Pry, right, who was first started recruiting him, I guess. So that makes sense. I will be interested in that one. I haven't heard much on Cam Seldon, if that's someone that could still potentially flip. I'm guessing probably not with the season that Tennessee's been having. And then I thought, was it Hussey that went and visited Ole Miss?
It was Dakari Nelson.
But
I think we were going to be good there.
Yeah, it sounds like we're going to be okay there. So, but yeah, he did visit. But I think if anything, it made it seem like he visited, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to go there, which is kind of interesting from that perspective.
I mean, some guys they know people there and they just want to have fun on a weekend, but it's nothing more than that. We had one of Georgia's guys, I forget which one, a highly recruited guy who helped them win the national championship last year. He actually visited right before signing day a couple of years ago, and Micah hosted him and everything, and people were like, but he just kind of wanted to hang out with Micah. So stuff like that happens.
Don't blame him at all. Anything else you want to fill us in on, Sean?
I don't think right now. We're still continuing to look for a running back, but that's kind of an ongoing thing. There's a few names that I'm hearing, but I'm interested because I keep thinking about what Terry Smith said about we're going to have 5 or so more guys in the class. I'm just really, really wondering where we're going to get those 5 guys from and who they're going to be. We have a good idea on one of them, but I don't know about the other. Actually, I do. Give me a second. Want to
As
get
I
the
say, there's
name
some
right.
offensive line movement happening as
Yep.
well.
Yep, 1 second here. This is live YouTube. Joseph Mupoye. Like, that's the guy from Connecticut who is teammates with Connecticut guy.
Cornerback.
Zion Tracy,
Yes.
right? Yeah, he's teammates with Zion Tracy, and he just got crystal ball to Penn State. So keep an eye on him.
Yeah, and I thought, it sounds like
He's a
they're
guy
gonna
that's been on our radar for a little while.
Yeah, we've mentioned Mapoye before, and I think they're still maybe going to try to get an offensive lineman if that happens to work out in their favor. I think they'd be open to it if a couple guys maybe go that way, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, let's go into the Rutgers preview. Talk Rutgers a little bit. Honestly, I just want to show off our new little things here. So I got rid of the side thing. I got rid of the side thing. We're gonna play around with some other things moving forward. But look at this. Ready? Watch this little thing pop up here. Ready? Wait, which one do I want? I want this one. Watch when this thing pops up, Sean. It'll be fire. Takes a second. For people listening to the podcast, I'm only gonna make a big deal about this once because I think it's kind of cool. But we'll just have to wait for it to show up. But what it's gonna be it's gonna be Rutgers schedule that's gonna pop up. But
yes, right now we see Corey with the blue screen.
Yeah, that's about it. But eventually, it's gonna look cool, and I don't know when it's gonna happen. There, boom.
There it is.
Yeah, so it's supposed to happen faster, but whatever. There's their schedule. So they have Penn State, Maryland left. If they lose this game, Sean, they can't get to bowl eligibility. But we thought maybe this team had something when they beat Boston College.
Yep.
Weren't really great when they beat Temple, but then the Iowa game I thought was a really big game for them, and they weren't able to win that game. And then it just kind of got worse from there. The loss at Nebraska was one where they had it in the bag and they just kind of peed themselves. But Sean, this is just, Greg Schiano, I think they went 5-7 last year and they got to a bowl game. They could potentially do that again, but I wouldn't say there was any obvious growth in the season so far for the Rutgers.
No, I predicted these guys would go to a bowl game this year, and they ended up. And then when I saw the Boston College win, I was like, "Oh, that's what they needed to do." And then I started getting concerned about them when they barely beat Temple, because Temple is not a good team this year. My brother goes there, and he's told me before. Fun fact, by the way, Kurt Warner's son is the quarterback there. So interesting little tidbit. Not Penn State's Kurt Warner, NFL Kurt Warner, and so that's when I started getting concerned. And then I picked them to beat Nebraska, and Corey picked Nebraska to beat them. And if they held on and didn't trip over themselves, I would be in first place alone right now.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So thanks for that, Rutgers. That's what I get for betting on you. And then they've really struggled in Big Ten play. They've only beaten lowly Indiana. So just been a tough year for the Scarlet Knights.
Yeah, well, let's talk offense, and that should update again for you. You get to see another cool little graphic. Gavin Wimsatt is a quarterback. He's a guy we kind of wanted to see more of, I think, earlier in the year. He hasn't had a great year. Completing just shy of 50% of his passes so far. But he actually had a pretty good day against Michigan State. Had 2 touchdown passes, didn't have any turnovers, maybe took a step in the right direction. But overall, not anything crazy. The running back, Manangai, which I'm pretty sure I said wrong in the summer when we were talking Rutgers. He actually had a decent day too against. I guess I could flip to my screen instead of having you on there. He had a decent day as well against Michigan State, but their other running back's actually out for the rest of the season. So he's kind of the guy now. And then Sean, Aaron Cruikshank is a guy we've talked about a decent amount since the summer, really. We both like him. He's probably their best player on offense as far as versatility is concerned. only got 3 touchdowns to his name, but he can run the ball. He can catch the ball. He can sort of be explosive compared to anyone else in their offense. Sean, at least to me, that's the guy you kind of have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, Krushnek's been there a while. I think we've heard his name for a while. A guy that I'm looking for is Samuel Brown. He's a freshman from Philly, just had a big game last week. He had a big game against Indiana. Actually, I think he might be hurt, so scratch that. Manangre, he's also had, he's having a good year. And Wimsatt, a little disappointing. He's a guy that they were really excited about coming in, and just hasn't been productive. 4 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. That's just not going to get it done. So, they're very offensively challenged. They're outside of the top 100 in total offense. They're second worst in the Big Ten in total offense, only in front of Iowa. But then you contrast that with their defense, and they're 21st in the nation in total defense. So they're one of those teams that's flawed out, that's severely flawed on one side of the ball, and it really holds them back.
Yeah. Let's I guess flip it over. I guess the only other thing I want to say about their offense is that they're giving up 2 sacks per game, and Penn State's got 13 sacks in the last 2 games. So from that perspective, it's looking a little bit like Penn State could have another good day in the sack department. Deion Jennings, 75 tackles on the year, which Penn State's leading tackler is Jair Brown with 55. So getting a lot of tackles, maybe that's not always necessarily a good thing, but that is the case. Wesley Bailey has 3.5 sacks at the defensive line spot. Braswell, 3 picks, same that Jair Brown has. So doing some good things there. They don't take the ball away very much, though. They don't get very many sacks either. But they do play pretty good defense otherwise. The biggest knock I have on their defense, Sean, they are giving up like 78% of touchdowns when teams get in the red zone. So they are allowing touchdowns in the red zone, which is like the opposite of what you want to do. Like if you want to upset somebody, you want to take the ball away and you want to hold them to field goals instead of touchdowns. Rutgers' defense doesn't really do either of those things. So to me, that part kind of solidifies to me the chance that there's probably not going to be an upset here.
Yeah, and Greg Schiano has made his bones on the defensive side of the ball. And he was, fun fact for all those who don't know and were born after the year like 1998, Greg Schiano was a coach at Penn State. He was defensive backs coach, so we're very familiar with Greg Schiano here. His calling card is defense, and his calling card really is being a tough, hard-nosed team. That's how he was at Rutgers the first time, and that's how he's been here. And his teams are physically tough and mentally tough. Like the thing with them, it was so much easier for a team like Rutgers to rise in the old Big East, where the competition, especially after Miami left, just wasn't the same. And he got them. They were a top 5 team at one point. Not finished the season, but they were in the top 5 at one point in the season. So. But it's just such a tough thing to do in the Big Ten East. Somebody that I want to highlight is Aaron Lewis. He's a transfer from Michigan. He's actually somebody who Penn State recruited pretty heavily. Only has 1 sack this year, 1 forced fumble, but he's a guy that I think Penn State's going to, and James Franklin actually highlighted in the press conference that they're going to want to keep in check.
That's a good point. And we got to give a shout out to their punter too. They have one of the better punters in the country. I think he was a Ray Guy finalist. I almost said a Ray Guy finalist last year.
For the brand.
Sometimes you don't always want to be punting it, but he's a very good punter. And
it's a lot of practice.
Yeah, that is true. There you go. I made you a little bit bigger on the screen. How about that?
Thanks, man.
Yep.
I look nice.
Yeah, that's honestly all I have to say about Rutgers as far as previewing. Like, you're just not good.
No,
good.
They're below mid. Yeah, we're not going to get into predictions yet, but they're not a very good team. But they have a
No.
decent defense. I'll give them that.
I think their defense is better than Maryland's defense.
100%. 100%.
And I don't, based off what we saw from Maryland's offense, I think Rutgers' offense might even be better than what we saw against Maryland's offense. That was pretty pathetic. I mean, which as a closet Maryland fan, that is just hard for me to say. But yeah, no, they just weren't great. I mean, I just don't know if Rutgers are going to be able to score very much. They're turning the ball over a lot, which, by the way, Penn State's at 18 takeaways, 21 all of last year. So they are 3 away now of 2 games left, which plus the bowl game. So they're looking good as far as that. They don't do a good job on third down on offense either, which I think is something that should be pointed out. And then their defense. The only really good thing is that yards per attempt that they are allowing. That's fairly low, doing a pretty good job there. Otherwise, nothing really sticks out to me, Sean. Nothing's like, man, you really need to be worried about this.
No, and I'll say this with Rutgers. We were just talking about Maryland. In years past, we have struggled with Rutgers. Not to the degree that we were going to lose or anything like that, but in 2019, even, we didn't play well against Rutgers. In 2018, I mean, they ran the Piscataway special, and it did not work out. If you remember that, did you remember that play where the quarterback?
2018?
Remember they ran their version of a Philly special, and the quarterback was wide open in the end zone. And to this day, I don't know how he dropped it. He caught it right here and it just fell through his hands. And I bursted out laughing when he did that because we defended it so poorly. But it's just the most Rutgers thing ever that it just slipped through his fingers.
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I remember that play because I watched some highlights. But I actually, for that week, I was driving down to go to a Virginia Tech football game.
Who are they playing?
They're playing Miami. My brother was working for the University of Miami at the time, so I got free tickets.
Oh.
And so we made a road trip down there for that game because that 2018 was at Rutgers. So
weren't you the president of Nittanyville that year?
Yeah, but it was at Rutgers.
Yeah, but like the president's full-time job, man.
Yeah, I was trying to get good ideas from an away experience, entrance, enter Sandman and all of that. I was trying to take, a good leader, learns and listens from other places, and you bring that knowledge in. That's all I was trying to do.
Okay. Yeah.
You got to learn from others. You can't.
Yeah, gotta take all the ideas in as they come.
Yeah. Get out of here. Anyway. I think we're ready for fan questions and bold predictions.
Let's do it.
Lost connection there for a second. All right. You're going to love this first question, by the way. And it should pop up there in a second. But first question is from Lucas Powers. Huge fan of the show. We appreciate Lucas. And his question is, and again, it will pop up for y'all in a second, is the Trotwine formation. First of all, the fact that the Trotwine formation is taking off is huge. That we all agree that the T formation, and we are all calling it the Trotwine formation. He says, is the Trotwine formation actually effective, or is it just Penn State is that much better than the Marylands and Indianas of the world? And I thought this was a decent question. Sean, I would say it is effective because they were able to run it against Ohio State a couple times. They were able to run it against other teams a couple times with success. I don't know if we've seen all the wrinkles out of it yet, which I wish they would have maybe done some of that against Ohio State, but whatever. Like that Ohio State play comes to mind all the time because if Sal Wormley just doesn't get beat, if one guy doesn't get beat, you're home free for a touchdown. So I'm not going to say it's as effective, but I think the formation itself is a good one. And I don't want to say it's the reason why this offensive line, like in general, is better, but I think they take a certain level of pride in that formation, and it gives them a chance to just fire off the ball and beat somebody, and it gives them some mojo. And I think this offensive line has a lot of mojo right now, Sean.
The funny thing is with it, we run the same 3 plays out of it. Like, it's not terribly complicated. We're not reinventing the wheel. But look, I got to give them credit because it does work against better teams. We did score a touchdown on it against Ohio State to take the lead. We scored a touchdown out of that formation. Yeah, I would like to see some more stuff out of it because it just doesn't strike me as too terribly complicated to defend. It's just another way of having like a jumbo set and, just a power formation. It's not that complicated. And we just run the same 3 plays out of it. But look, I mean, it works and that's really all that matters. So to answer your question, yeah, I think at a certain point, you got to just throw your hands up and say, yeah, it is really effective.
Yeah, that's a good point. I get the heebie-jeebies every time we come out in it now because I know what's coming, and I'm just like, why don't they stop us? Like, I don't understand why they can't stop it. But so I get nervous when they come out in that formation now because I'm just like, are they gonna get them this time? Are they gonna get them this time? And the next time they score a touchdown, like Nick Singleton did twice. So I think it is working, and I don't think they've even given it to. Oh, maybe they've done it once. I think. Have they given it to Brenton Strange on just a dive right up the middle?
I don't think they have. I'm waiting for that.
Yeah, so
because they're going to be taken off guard, especially if there's not a nose tackle in the right spot. I could see them just giving it to Strange, let him pick up the yard. But I don't know how good he is at taking handoffs.
Yeah, I also don't know. I mean, they haven't really ran a counter out of that yet either. So yeah, I don't know. I like that question. I thought it was kind of funny. This next question is probably my favorite question. This is from Saquon Kendall. Who are candidates to enter the portal at the end of the year, and how does that impact playing time these next 2 games? Love this question. Probably the question of the week right here. Question of the week. I'll go first.
I can go first if you want. I got some names. Name that goes right to my mind is Christian Bayer. I think that guy is good enough to start on a lot of Power 5 teams. I don't know about most, but more than you probably think. Probably almost half the Big Ten. So that tells you something right there. Maybe Kevon Lee, even though, because I think Kevon Lee is another guy that's good enough to start at a lot of Power 5 schools, but I mean, I don't know about how high quality Power 5 schools, but he is good enough to start at some. Receiver's so tough because there's so many young guys, but somebody like Malik Mega really pops out to me. He just hasn't played a whole lot this year. I think he's a good player, but he's kind of just buried in the depth chart, and it tends to happen. I think a lot of those freshmen stick around. We had a lot of guys come in last year. I can't see them leaving yet unless there's stuff we don't know about. And that's one of those things with these transfer questions. You don't know what's going on in the locker room and things of that nature. Yeah. And then you go over to the defense. I mean, in the trenches, there's usually a guy or two that transfers out after the first year because just physically they can't keep up, and they're just not what they thought they were out of high school. So maybe somebody in the trench, maybe a few guys in the trenches transfer out. I can't really give names though, but yeah, possibly there. And then in the secondary, we have a lot of cornerbacks, so you could see a freshman or two transfer out as well. So those are just a few of the guys that I'm spitballing.
Yeah. I think Budden leaves.
That's a good one.
I don't see how he plays. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, but he hasn't played very much yet, and we're not losing a bunch of linebackers. I just don't really see how he's going to make up ground And if it's like him or a Keon Wiley that are like growing up, or him, and I just don't understand how they would be choosing him at this point if he hasn't got there yet. So I think he hits the portal. He's a guy who hits the portal, probably goes to like a group of 5 place and plays really well, and we're like really happy to see him get taken up to a training camp in the NFL, and we're like good for him. But he just hasn't really got a chance to get on the field. So I think Budden leaves. I think all the ones you said are pretty obvious too. I really think a receiver leaves. I think it's Mega, honestly. I think Malik Mega leaves. I could honestly maybe see Trey Wallace leaving. I mean, I think he's been involved enough where I don't think he goes. But if he's, for some reason he's homesick and he sees an opportunity down south, maybe he takes that. But I think he's played enough where I don't think he goes. But between Keandre Lambert-Smith, Trey Wallace, and Malik Mega, I don't see a way all 3 of them stay next year. Maybe they wait till the spring and see where the lineup is at, and after the spring settles, with some of the potentially freshmen already being on campus for that spring practice, and they can kind of see where they're at, and all the wide receivers that haven't played yet, see where they're at. Christian Driver's now come over back to the wide receiver room.
Yes, I saw that.
So yeah, I think some one of them goes as well. But
maybe like a lineman like Ibrahim Traore hasn't played a whole lot. He's redshirt sophomore already. Golden Israel and Achumba. Maybe even Jimmy Crest, because there are so many young guys coming in, and young guys that are there that have passed them up on the depth chart. So offensive line could get thin quicker than you think.
Yeah, I agree with Chris and Achumba. I think those are guys to pay attention to as well. So those are some. How does it impact playing time though? I mean, I think the receiving core is one that's going to be interesting. Because is Caden Saunders going to play a little bit? He's only played 2 games. Is Christian Driver going to play? Is Omari Evans going to? Well, he's already played a bunch, but is he going to still play more? Is
Jaden
Dotton, is he going to play some? Tyler Johnson, he hasn't played at all yet. Is he going to play any? And there's one more that I'm forgetting right now off the top of my head.
Omari Evans.
We'll think of it. We'll get back to. There's another guy I'm not thinking of right now that hasn't played yet at all, and hasn't come to my mind. So I receiver wise, I'm interested in seeing. I'm seeing like I'm excited to see Keon Wiley play a little bit more. Linebacker depth in general is just always something funny to.
Anthony Ivy. Yep. He hasn't played this year at all.
Yep. So I'm excited to see if he gets in this time. So I guess to answer your question, I think these next 2 games are pretty important for that. Now you have the bowl game too, and so it's difficult. You kind of have to assume some guys are not going to play in the bowl game. So you don't want them to be out of their 4 games before the bowl game. So like a Caden Saunders, he probably only plays in one of the 2 next games, because then he can play in the bowl game. That's his 4th game. Everyone's happy. So you probably only see him in one of those. But for guys that haven't played in any yet, travel roster, it's a little tricky for those guys. But once they get back home, I mean, I and again, you still want to beat Michigan State, obviously, but you think maybe they get in towards the end of the game if they have the chance to.
Yeah. Like you said, hopefully one of these 2 games is a blowout, so maybe you can make a lot of people happy and give them playing time. It was interesting though, when we were out at Indiana, we had a lot of walk-ons on the travel roster and getting into the game late above some of our scholarship guys. So this is something to keep in mind.
Yeah, for sure. Robert Parker says, what is the new rule with the portal as far as dates go? Yeah, so, I mean, technically you can be in the portal right now. Tuttle for Indiana, the quarterback that Penn State played against, he was in the portal while he played in the game, which I thought was kind of funny. So they can be in the portal right now. However, if you transfer right now, you cannot play Like you can't transfer right
Yeah,
now.
you can't just
play.
suit up for the next team,
Right.
the next week.
So that's how that works. But no, people can be in the portal. There's no like the portal doesn't turn off, so to speak. Now, there is a rule in the spring as far as like you have to be transferred at a certain point.
Correct.
As far as like when the scholarship number happens, and there's rules as far as then when you can start practicing, and then can you be enrolled in classes. There's all sorts of things in the spring that you have to pay attention to. But no, theoretically, you're always having to recruit your team all the time. Let's go into some bold predictions here. This is from Jack. I can't even see his last name. It's so tiny on my screen. Miliski? It'll pop up in a second. But Jack says Penn State puts up 50 points for the first time since 2020. Which I didn't realize it was that long, Sean.
Yeah, because last year, I mean, we really hit snags and not being able to score. It felt like we should have scored 50 at some point this year. But, yeah, because it just feels like we've been scoring a lot the past few weeks. But yeah, I don't mind the pick. I mean, I'm not sure I'll agree, but if we're gonna score 50, well, I mean, if we were to score 50 points, it probably would have been against Indiana, to be completely honest, because Rutgers does have a decent defense.
They could have scored, they could have scored 50 against Indiana. They could have scored 50 against Minnesota. They could have scored 50 against Maryland, most likely. I will say this. I think, in addition to Indiana, I think their most likely opportunity actually is Michigan State. Michigan State's defense is really terrible.
Good point.
So if the weather's good, I think that's a good opportunity. I guess it's is it Mile Whiskey? Mile Whiskey.
The W might be silent. It might just be Molesky.
Oh, that sounds way better.
Yep. I don't know for sure, though.
I like that better. Jack Molesky. Yeah, that sounds good. Let's just go with that. If that isn't your last name, it is your last name now. So we thank Sean for that. Let's go to the next one. This is from DKW, longtime listener. Can we say that yet? Is that considered? Is it longtime listener at this point? Probably
I mean,
not,
if
not short-term listener.
Well, I mean, they've been listening. He's been listening to us for a long, long time. So I know since the summer I've been seeing his name. So that's what we consider a long time. Okay. Yeah, the summer is long time listener.
Okay. All right. Long time listener DKW says both middle linebackers make plays to make people feel good about the position group next year, regardless of what Curtis Jacobs does.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. Kobe King has been playing better. He's really, and granted, I mean, the competition hasn't been as fierce as a Michigan or Ohio State, but in the last two games, he has turned it up a bit. And Elliston's been all right. Elliston's been okay. So I think they're currently growing. I think the bowl practices may help those two middle linebackers as much as anybody else.
Yeah. Well, I would argue Drew Allard, but besides him, yes. Just to be a devil's advocate.
Maybe, but I don't know if Drew's going to play the bowl game or not.
I think he is. But no, I know it's not. I don't think it's set in stone necessarily. In my mind, it is. I'd be let's just say this, Sean. I would be upset with Franklin if Sean Clifford plays. I think we went down this road already. Give him his moment in the Michigan State game and be gone, right? I mean, you can't ask for a better goodbye than the Michigan State game. New year, new me, baby. Let's just say it's a New Year's Six bowl. New year, new me. We're moving on.
Yeah, if he plays, then it starts getting to that point that you just start saying, I just want somebody to look at me the way James Franklin looks at Sean Clifford.
Yeah. I don't condone those jokes yet, but yeah, at that point.
Yes, at that point we do start wondering, like, oh, maybe he isn't just in love with the guy. I don't know.
So I just want to say this. Haskins Era 2022 is the Twitter handle. I really think you should probably find a different Twitter handle.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's I don't know. Maybe his last
Maybe
name-
Hassan Haskins?
Maybe not. Is he a running back for? I think it's the Steelers. Avi, is he a running back for the Steelers?
No, it's probably Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Anyway.
Not sure if I like that, but anyway, he says defense doesn't allow a point again. What are you thinking? A shutout, Sean? You think that's in the cards?
It's in the cards. It's in the cards. Yeah, it's in the cards. Let's just put it that way.
I just want Robert Parker on YouTube says if Drew doesn't play it in the bowl game, I won't even watch it. So Robert Parker is making the stand.
Okay.
Now, Robert, he's probably going to play.
Yeah, he's probably going to play, but I understand you want him to start. I do too.
Well, but Robert didn't say start. He just said play. So, Robert, you might have to strap in and watch the first half of Sean Clifford because you just said that you would watch it if as long as Drew plays. He might not play right away, Sean or Robert, but I'm just messing with you. We get your point, and we appreciate it. Thank you for all the bold predictions and the fan questions. As always, you can find us on Twitter, HardcorePSUFB. We take them for every single show. So thank you guys. It makes the show a lot better when you guys really think about your questions, too, and provide insight. It makes it a lot more fun. So thank you, guys.
Yeah.
All right,
so
Sean. Yeah. Yeah, we appreciate it. I think there's only one thing left to do.
Oh, is it that time again?
I think so. Should we just go to the show schedule and make sure that we're good.
Okay.
We're good there. If you made it this far in the show, make sure you drop the 5-star review on Apple Podcasts for us. Again, we're 7 away. We're gonna do a pizza dinner for everybody, pizza party. When we get to 100 5-star reviews. We'll read them on a show and we'll send you a sticker for free. So consider that. And with that being said, Sean, I don't know. Do you think I should go to the individual cams when I don't have it? I was going to get like our prediction stats up on here at some point, but I don't think I don't know if I should be doing that when we don't have anything to the right of us anymore.
It's up to you. I mean, I think it's fine that way.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think you're first, right?
Yeah, I think I am. Yeah.
Okay. We'll send it over to you. And what you got?
Taking Rutgers in an upset this week. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway. Yeah. Greg Schiano coach team. You know, they're going to be a hard-nosed team. They're going to be as stout as they could be up front. And this is a good defense. This is a good test. They're 21st in the country in total defense. That's much higher than Maryland and certainly Indiana was. So I think the offense is going to get a good test this week. And I think they're going to pass it. I think this offensive line is for real, even being down 3 guys, and Olu didn't practice again tonight. So we're expecting to be down at least 2 guys, because maybe Wallace plays, but he's been suited up and not playing. So let's just assume he's out. Yeah, I think they're going to pass a decent test this week. And part of it is what we've talked about on this show. Complementary football. Rutgers does not play complementary football. They have a good defense. They have a terrible offense. I think our defense is going to feast on this young quarterback, and Penn State will win without much of an effort. I have Penn State winning 34-3.
34-3, Sean?
34-3. 2 more Jake Pinniger field goals.
My pen stopped working, so I couldn't write it down. What's your BP? The 2 field goals?
I'll say Drew Aller runs for a touchdown.
Okay. Interesting. So, got to give a lot of credit to Alex Anstead because him and I are almost identical here. He went 44-10. I'm going to go 41-10. I think Penn State wins 41-10. I had Penn State beating Maryland 31-14, I think. And I was like, okay, well, I think Penn State ends up scoring a little bit more than they would against Maryland. So I'm going to go 41-10. I think one of those is a defensive turnover that either is a pick six or a scoop and score, or at least gets them really close where for all intents and purposes, it was a defensive touchdown. And so that really means only the offense is going to score 34 points. So that puts you kind of where you're at. I just think they do something extravagant in some other shape or form that gets them over the top to that 40-plus category. Rutgers has a decent defense. I don't think they're great against the run, and I think that's going to hurt them. And then I think when it's all said and done, they're going to wear out, and then the playmakers are going to take over. I really think the defense is going to make Rutgers struggle to move the football at all. And they've had 13 sacks right now. The defensive line is really feeling themselves. Are we still live? Okay, I don't know what just happened. They're really feeling themselves. I think I think they're playing at a higher level than I thought. Maybe it was just the Indiana game that they were just, Indiana's just really awful. But now I really think they have a lot of confidence, Sean. So I think the defensive line is going to get after them, and it's going to be a long day for Rutgers. So 41-10. My bold prediction is exactly what Alex said. I think Drew Aller has 2 touchdowns. And I said 2 total touchdowns. I don't know if one is a run or a pass, but I guess we're all on a Drew Aller train this week. No other way to say it. I don't know, Sean. It was weird for a second there. Like my streaming program just like closed.
Yeah, we're still up here.
That's good.
Yeah, I just checked. Yeah, I could see all that happening. I think this will be kind of a laugher. And that's good because Rutgers, like I said, they're capable of giving you a game. They're capable of hanging around, especially when you can't run the ball. And so I think me and Corey are pretty much on the same page with this one tonight, guys.
Yeah. Again, for Twitter, you can drop your predictions below. You can't guess what anyone else has guessed. You have to be following. If anyone guesses the prediction outright, we will send you a sticker. Alex Anstead went 44-10. I went 41-10. Sean went 34-3. I actually didn't record that, but whatever. Should I do that again? I guess I will.
It still says it's recording.
Oh yeah, that's recording, but what I'm recording for the clips.
Yeah, just go again.
Okay, so podcasters just have to suck it up. For people on Twitter, drop your predictions below. You cannot guess what someone else has already guessed. You have to be following us. If you guess it exactly correct, we will send you a sticker. Alex Anstead went 44-10. I went 41-10, and Sean went 34-3. All taking Penn State to win and covering. All right, Sean. Yeah, I think that 19-point spread was kind of nuts, by the way.
Wait. Honestly, maybe I have to reevaluate Penn State being a great team because good teams win, great teams cover.
That's true. And they've been covering quite a bit.
They have. Penn State, I think, statistically in the past, under James Franklin, has been one of the better teams in the country at covering spreads. So
yeah, because even when they lose, they typically find a way to make it painful.
Right, like the Ohio State game, we always cover the spread. So
yeah. To me, that was a hilariously easy money and I know it was a backdoor cover technically at the end, but really it was a backdoor cover for Ohio State to take the cup, to take it originally. So, like Ohio State shouldn't have even been close to covering that game.
Yeah, we met them at the back door and snuck in.
Yeah, that was
because they were trying to do it, that we did it.
Yeah. So, yeah. Any other final thoughts, Sean?
No, let's go into New Jersey and beat Rutgers because Jersey. I was about to say something, but I'm not going to say it. We don't like Jersey.
Unless they listen to the podcast.
Jersey drivers, except people who listen to the Hardcore Penn State Football podcast.
Yeah. I will say also that. Oh, no. I don't know. The thoughts are just leaving my mind tonight. I was going to say something about Jersey, but it's gone.
They're not good drivers.
No. I don't know, dude. I had a thought, but it has now disappeared.
Do you think they're going to be chanting the F Penn State thing? Like they that every third down or something?
Yeah, I think they will be doing
Even
that.
when they don't
what I
play
want to
us?
say was the just mentioned the Saquon tweet about the Rutgers backfield being too deep. I just that cracks me up still to this day. And the fact that this guy doubled down and said that Ray Rice is still having a better NFL career than him. I was like, he's like, well, Ray Rice is a 3-time Pro Bowler. I'm like, you don't think Saquon's gonna get there? Like,
Right.
So,
yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. Just take the L. It's okay. I've had a lot of bad predictions just on this podcast. That's the thing. Like when people can't, when people can't admit they're wrong, I find that so humorous because I'm like, I'm wrong all the time, but I don't let it I don't do these weird justifications and doubling down. It's just cringe. Don't do that.
Like arguing that UNC should be ranked higher than Penn State?
Yeah. I mean, if you just go by the schedule and ignore them getting their doors blown off by a team that lost to Marshall, yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to throw that in there at the end. Appreciate you guys for listening.
Yes, thank you guys.
Find us on Hardcore Penn State Football. Wherever you listen to podcasts, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you've liked the video on YouTube. We'll be back on Sunday. Sean, you want to do an hour earlier on Sunday? Think you can manage that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's shoot
fine
for,
with me.
what do we usually do? 10 a.m.? Let's do 9 a.m. Let's do 9 a.m. Eastern on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm actually good all day Sunday because the Dolphins are off this week. So 9 a.m. Sunday's great.
Yeah, we're going to do 9 a.m. because it'll be better for my schedule. So 9 a.m. Sunday, we'll be back. Thank you guys so much for listening. For Sean Kane, I'm Corey Listoki. You've been listening to Hardcore Penn State Football. Enjoy the weekend, and we will see you back here Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern on Hardcore Penn State Football.
Thank you, guys.